Good morning. Welcome to the episode of Like It or Leave It. It is May 15th. Hope you guys had a good weekend. However you are watching, whether it's YouTube, SoundCloud, and if all goes well, soon to be iTunes, but more on that later. Alrighty. So, got a lot to talk about. Not starting off with Golden State game, even though I know that's headline number one. I get it. It's actually a really good game. We got a lot to talk about, though. So we're going to get in the Warriors Spurs. We're going to talk about some LeBron Jordan conversation, Magic and his feelings on LeVar Ball, and if he thinks it impacts Lonzo or not. But first, anything you do, I think it's really important to pay homage, to pay respect to people that have been there before you. And you don't have to kiss feet, for lack of a better term, but you should show respect. And we're going to start off today's show by showing respect to one of the truly just all-time great athletes and could make a case one of the all-time great people. Very few companies get to a set or get to a point where they are so big, they are so huge, so successful that people do nothing but try to copy their model of success. Microsoft and Apple are two such businesses. They are so big that there is little. There's a place here in San Diego called StarTech, and they're basically a little Microsoft office. There is, you think of all the off-brand smartphones that have been created because of Apple. Simply, they're so big, they're so successful. People are like, I want to try that. I don't know how to be better, but I'm simply going to make another version of it by using their model. There's a lot of rappers who try to, when they first start rapping, or once they first, or even not even just first start rapping, but as they continue to rap, they kind of bite the style or bite the sound of someone they look up to or someone that they know successful, thinking, well, if I can sound like him, it's going to work. A bunch of guys do this. I mean, and it's not always a bad thing. Let me say this. J. Cole even admits, he used to sit there when he first started rapping, he bit Nas's sound and Eminem's sound. Those guys sit there and admit they copied Rakim's sound. It's not a negative. It's simply a fact. You get to a point where you're big and successful and you're so dominant in something, people are gonna start to copy you. This also happens in the world of sports, but only with certain athletes. It's real easy to say, be like Mike as the obvious number one choice for guys trying to copy an athlete. Jordan had such a rarefied mystique that guys even in the league tried to be like him. Not just kids, not just high schoolers, college guys. Guys in the league tried to be like him. It was to such a degree. Obviously, you could say Kobe copied Jordan. Most people would say yes. I would say yes. And that's completely fine. There's not no one's going to copy LeBron. You just can't do it. He just has a skill set that's not. You just can't do it. You're not going to wake up and be that big that fast. Not denying Jordan wasn't a freak athlete, but he had a more relatable game. Steph Curry is kind of in that lane at the moment where, because of what he's done the last couple of years, there's kids all around the world right now that are shooting more and trying to dunk less. Excuse me. In football, there's guys who try to copy. Brett Favre's got that kind of copy style where guys try to go out there and be a gunslinger like him. In baseball, there is only one. No one goes out there and tries to be Barry Bonds. No one goes out there and tries to be Willie Mays. No one goes out there and tries to recreate Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera. There is only one guy in Major League history who has had such an impact and such a profound impact on the game that guys go out and try to copy him to the degree of someone like Jordan, to the degree of someone like Favre. Can we give it up? And I mean just truly give it up for the greatness that is Derek Jeter. I don't like the Yankees. I'll be the first to admit that. Not a Red Sox fan and have some like deep hate for them, but I don't like the Yankees. You're generally one of those teams, you either love them or you hate them, and I don't love them. But to deny Derek Jeter how any form of greatness, to deny him respect for what he's accomplished, I think is just ignorant. And it's really ignorant. He inspired an entire generation of shortstops to the degree of not just trying to play like him, but guys that would take his number. The number 2 will be on shortstops for the next 50 years because of Derek Jeter. No one's wearing 19 because of Tony Gwynn. No one's wearing number 5 because Albert Pujols. I don't even, for as great as he is, and I think he'll end up an all-time greater player in terms of his stature or in terms of his stats and everything. No one's even wearing 27 because of Mike Trout. But guys will be wearing number 2 for the next 50 years because of Derek Jeter. And some guys just have it. They just have the class, the persona. Because it's not like Jeter, well, yes, he's an all-time great player. He's not what you would sit there and think is like one of the greatest players of all time. Like baseball, I love their Hall of Fame. They're very good about keeping it the top 2 or 3% of guys to ever play. But I only if you wanted to ask guys, you've got 10 players to pick. I don't think Jeter makes that list. But his impact is easily one of the 3 most ever felt in the league. He's a 14-time All-Star, a 5-time World Series champ, a World Series MVP, and 5 Gold Gloves. Played his entire career with the Yankees. It's a huge deal to be the captain on the New York Yankees. And Derek Jeter was just that. So, like I said, no matter what you do, you need to pay respect, pay homage to guys that have been there, and an entire generation of guys. Pay respect, pay homage. And I'm not just talking about average guys. I'm talking about big-time shortstops. Pay respect to Derek Jeter. Did you see what New York did where they turned off all the 2s yesterday? I thought that was super cool. That's how big of a player, that's how big of a person Derek Jeter is to that franchise and to that city. So let me say, Derek Jeter, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the highlights. Thank you for all the years of, even though I didn't like the team you played on, for truly getting to watch someone that great. Thank you for your greatness. Now I hope the Yankees go on to lose the next 30 games they play. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get some scores. We have Blue Jays over the Mariners 3-2, Indians over the Twins 8-3, Marlins over the Braves 3-1, Rays over the Red Sox 11-2, Phillies over the Nationals 4-3, Yankees over the Astros 11-6. That was a big comeback in Derek Jeter Day. Brewers over the Mets 11-9, White Sox over the Padres 9-3, and the Royals over the Orioles 9-8. Good day for starting pitching. I don't know where I'd be without coffee. Call it dirt water or call it whatever you want, but it's a lifesaver. All right. So we can't really go that far in today's show without talking about the Spurs and the Warriors. Where do we start? It was a very interesting game. I was watching it and thinking, this is going to make my segment even better because if you know, I have two former videos. I have one about Kawhi being the MVP, and I have one about the Spurs winning the title because it to me, it felt like it was set up to be their year. I then have changed my view in terms of how I feel about Golden State, but I was like, I don't think anyone should be able to beat Golden State, but if someone had a chance, and I mean just a chance, it's San Antonio. I'm not backing down from my opinion. I know the two opinions kind of contradict each other, but one was formed at what I thought at that time the Spurs should win, and then my second video was at the time of when I had new information, which I should be allowed to change my opinion based on new information. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but hey, it's how it works. Spurs blew a 25-point lead. I think everyone's seen the number at this point. It's like 326-1 with Greg Popovich with a 25-point lead. It's really crazy. Obviously, the Kawhi injury. I don't think Zaza made a dirty play. I think if you think he made a dirty play, I think you're just crazy. But I had, going into the game, an idea of what I thought was going to happen, and it played out in my favor to start the game. And obviously, once Kawhi got injured, and there's all these people that are like, oh, well, the Spurs, they won by 30 without him against Houston, and they were 7-1 in the regular season without him. Like, there's a huge difference when you go into the game knowing someone's not there, aka Game 6 or during the regular season if you know he's just resting that night. Because then you got to step up. Compared to flow of the game, the guy gets hurt, the blow it is emotionally to your team, and then having to improvise on the fly, which as great as Greg Popovich is, I'm sorry, improvising on the fly is your players got to step up and do it too. They're without Tony Parker, Ginobili, who's playing out of his mind, but let's be real here. Ginobili's getting a lot of credit, which he should, but at the same time, he's a 39-year-old shooting guard, and we all know what playing out of his mind is like, getting to double digits, about 10, 11 points. So, now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk about what I wanted to talk about, which is 5 reasons why the Spurs can beat Golden State. Not saying that they will, but here's my reasons why I think they could. Number 1, size. Yes, everyone's trying to play small ball. Everyone's saying you have to match up with the Warriors. The Spurs are one of the few teams that are like, no, we're not matching up with you. We're going to take advantage of Pau Gasol and LaMarcus Aldridge and the fact we're just bigger than you. And if you watched the game yesterday, LaMarcus Aldridge, while he struggled late in the game and he struggled on Draymond Green, Kevin Durant could not hold him. When he got a matchup with Kevin Durant, it was game over. He'll score 40 points a game if they're going to leave Kevin Durant on him. 2, they can match up defensively with Golden State. I don't know if you noticed, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green really weren't offensive factors. They took out 2 of the 4 guys. Yes, Durant and Curry ended up with 70-plus points between them, but that was part of once the Kawhi injury and the snowball effect, and it just went downhill really fast when they started getting a lot of their points. But if you look at the fact of when they could put Mills, Simmons, and Leonard on Curry, Durant, and Klay Thompson, they gave the Warriors trouble. The Warriors struggled to score as a team, and those guys struggled on an individual basis. Coaching, by far and away, Greg Popovich has the coaching advantage in this series. It's not even close. Well, I think the Warriors are as on autopilot as you get for in a professional sports team as far as coaching goes. Mike Brown isn't even in the same galaxy as Greg Popovich as a coach. Depth. The Spurs have a better depth than Golden State. Part of when you get Kevin Durant is you lose your depth. That's obvious. Andre Iguodala is not the player he was 2 years ago. David West is not the player he was 2-3 years ago. So the Warriors are basically running out a 7-8 man rotation, which is fine when your first four are that good. But when you're playing a team like San Antonio, which is built on having more depth and doesn't have the star power that Golden State does, the depth will start to play a role in the series, especially this could be the first series Golden State has to play more than 4 games. And 5 is Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge. This sounds really stupid because you're like, oh, well, of course they've got to play well to win the game or to win the series. They have a chance to be, and they were for yesterday until the injury, the 2 best players on the court. And people are going to say that's crazy, especially the way LaMarcus Aldridge has been playing. They're going to say, LaMarcus Aldridge would be the 6th or 7th best player on the court to them. But if you look at it, if LaMarcus Aldridge keeps getting the Durant switch and being able to take him down being able to take him down in the post, or being able to get Zaza Pachulia, who for the first 2 quarters couldn't stop, or JaVale McGee, who couldn't stop him. Like, the fact they put Zaza on him and that was like the Aldridge stopper was kind of disappointing. But Kawhi Leonard was absolutely the best player on the court until he got hurt. And LaMarcus Aldridge could be the 2nd best player on the court. And for them to win, that's what needs to happen. Those 2 guys need to be threats to go for 30 points on any given night if the Spurs want to do this. Like I said, do I think they're winning? I don't think they have a chance in hell if Leonard's out for the rest of the series or if he's out for 2 or 3 games. But, and I like I said, I think the Warriors should win. But if the Spurs are going to beat Golden State, their size, matching up, their coaching, depth, and Leonard and Aldridge, that's their formula for success, and that's how they can do it. They're not going to outshoot. I didn't give Houston a chance against Golden State because I don't think you can beat Golden State by copying Golden State and winning a title. I talked about it the other day. It's like I don't believe you can win a title just on shooting threes. This Golden State team has all-time great shooters. You're not going to beat them by copying their style. The Spurs aren't trying to copy their style. Yeah, do they shoot more threes now than they used to? Yeah, but that's just kind of a result of the spacing of the league. But they will take their 2 7-footers and they will ram them down your throat. And that is how they have a chance to beat Golden State. Time for everyone's favorite part of the show where we talk more about LeBron James. Gosh. And I swear, I don't hate LeBron, and I hate the fact I have to keep defending myself on this. I just hate the media's interpretation of him. Go watch an earlier video I have, ESPN and FS1 ruining LeBron for me, and it'll make more sense. I just want to throw something out here. There's a couple things in this world that we don't actually have to know the people that we're talking about, and we will get so angry. We will yell, we will scream, we will kick, we will curse, we will do the whole 9 yards for people we don't know about, know nothing about. Most of the time, if someone says something about your mom or dad, you'll get kind of defensive and, sit there and have something back to say, like, hey, don't talk about my parents, or hey, don't talk about my friend, and you'll kind of, put your chest out and, get mad that way. But in sports and in politics, you don't have to know who you're talking about. You don't have to know anything about those people. And you will scream, you will kick, you will yell. And I started to think about this the other day, and it's like, it's really anti-sports fan thinking or anti-sports fan thought process, like, to dislike lists. Like, I love lists. I like seeing top tens. I like seeing rankings. We all do. But let's always remember, and this is something I struggle with too, so I'm not trying to say like, oh, you guys are wrong, I'm right. It really doesn't matter though. Like, I realize we're about to spend the last 4 to 5 years of LeBron James' career doing nothing but just worrying about where he falls on a list. Think about that for a second. Do you really think the Celtics care that Larry Bird is, in most people's eyes, only the third or fourth best player in NBA history? Or do you think they care about the titles he brought to the Boston? Do you think the Lakers care that Magic Johnson at this point is the second or third best player ever? Or that Kareem's one of the top 5 players ever? No. Do you think the Rockets are like, man, Elijah, he wasn't the best player of all time, man. We really got screwed. No, because he's one of the greatest players ever and brought them 2 titles and was a franchise superstar. I think Greg Popovich is over there thinking, man, Tim Duncan's, he's only a top 10 player all time. He's not a top 5. Ugh. Or Duncan could be top 5, but this is just what I'm trying to get at is Billboard released a list 2 years ago, and it was the top 10 rappers of all time, and it put the world was on fire. I mean, you really would have thought the world was on fire because people were so angry about where certain guys were listed. Let me go over this list really quick, and I'm going to compare it to the list ESPN put out about their top 10 NBA players of all time last year. So for the top 10 rappers Billboard put out, I'm going to go 10 through 1. Lil Wayne, Kendrick, Ghostface, Lauryn Hill, Andre 3000, Nas, Rakim, Eminem, Jay-Z, and Biggie. Okay. Let's go the ESPN list for the top 10 NBA players of all time. Elijah 1, Shaq, Duncan, Russell, Bird, Wilt, Magic, LeBron, Kareem, Jordan. Both of these lists had huge controversies. They had huge arguing points. There were people that were, just really mad about these lists because of what they were doing. Like, there was obviously with the Billboard one, everyone was just everyone's angry beyond belief. It's like, how was Tupac not on the list? Oh my gosh. Myself, it's like I was saying, how was Nas not number 2 or 1? Because that's my personal opinion of him. Guys were thinking, oh, did Kendrick make it too early? All that stuff was happening. Then you have obviously the basketball list. Guys are like, well, Wilt's a center. How do you feel about centers being in the top 5? And they put Wilt. They have Wilt, Russell, and Kareem. They're all in the top 7. And Shaq and Elijah 1. So 5 of the top 10 players of them all time are centers. How do you feel about guys that are just born 7 feet, who are 7 feet tall and huge, and in case of Shaq, just so physically dominant you can't do anything with them? Oh, was LeBron already better than Magic? Let's take a second and realize lists don't matter. I love them. They're fun to talk about. But when you sit there and all you're worried about is LeBron the second greatest player of all time, the fourth greatest player of all time, the first greatest player of all time, the fifth, you've completely lost the point of watching basketball. You've completely lost the point of watching sports. You are so far removed from what your actual thought process should be. I feel genuinely sorry for you. Do you think every team in the league is mad they're not the Bulls and didn't have Jordan? You could say during the time, sure. Do you think the Lakers are mad that, they only had Kareem and Magic? Think the Cavs are mad that they only got LeBron? Wilt? think, the Lakers, oh, well, we only had Shaq. You think Eminem goes to bed at night thinking, man, they didn't put me number one on the all-time list? Rakim is like, or Andre 3000 is like, man, they didn't put me number one on the all-time list? No. Because all of these guys have had great careers. There's only one number one, and number one is so subjective in almost everything you do. It really doesn't matter where someone else puts you, because they're going to do it off their criteria and their own personal bias. It's like in the NFL right now. I'm going to say the number one defensive player is Von Miller. J.J. Watt's got a compelling argument, and there's reasons why you can back it up and prove why either could be number one. But it doesn't matter. They're both great. I know we love lists. I love lists. I love rankings. ESPN and all those sites, they release power rankings every week. Why? We love lists. We love rankings, but they don't matter. They really don't. Whether at the top of the list, and they don't matter at the bottom of the list. You think the Nets are really like, man, we were 29 out of 30. We were ranked 29th this week. It's better than the 30th if we ranked the last 10. Gosh, we're going places. No. They realize, wow, we're still hot garbage. We need to get better. And these guys at the top of their lists are like, hey, we're great. We know we're great. We're going to have to continue to prove we're great. Wherever you place us is wherever you place us. Yeah, you want to strive to be the best. But striving to be the best is not ending number one on someone's list. It's not. Calm down with our lists, guys. I wish I had someone who had like little side news and notes for me while I'm interluding in these segments, but we'll get there. Last thing, this is a quick one. Magic Johnson says LeVar Ball has no impact on Lonzo's draft status. I think two things about this. One, I think it's I think it's a statement that you just have to put out, because I think the Lakers have this idea that Lonzo Ball is this savior for them. And so to say anything negative about him, I think it will mess with his mentality or will affect his psyche going into the draft. And I think Magic is extremely self-aware. I think he's almost it'll have to be proven, but I think he has a chance to be almost Elway-esque in terms of what Elway does with football players, where he does the proper amount of ego stroking and ego flexing, which is like, hey, I am this all-time great player. I'm respecting you. And he meets in the middle to where guys are like, oh my gosh, Elway said I was great, and he's this good, and oh my gosh, I want to go play for him because he has this all-time great player has this kind of confidence in me. So I think that for one. Two, I think he's honest about LeVar Ball having no impact, because once you get to professional sports, there's only like two instances. Like, everyone's going to throw up Todd Marinovich and be like, oh, well, his father destroyed him. Like, in the NBA, it's far better than football in terms of they're talent-based. Like, guys with talent will get a chance to play. And here's why I say they're better than the NFL, because I think the NBA takes into account actual risks, actual quote-unquote drama off the field, off the court. Like, if you just want to compare the two, let's look at Joe Mixon, who just got drafted this year, hitting a female upside her head. I think I'll take Lonzo Ball having a kind of strict and maybe, if you want to call him, a bit crazy dad over slapping a woman upside the head. Like, I just don't think LeVar has any true impact in anyone's mind, because he's not that serious. Michael Vick was a serious situation in terms of off the field, off the court drama. Greg Hardy was a real situation. Ray Rice was a real situation. Some dude having an overbearing dad? It's not a real situation. Like, the one thing I agree with LeVar Ball above everything else is like the basketball stuff is like, that's not drama. There's real drama in the world. That's not drama. Just because your dad goes out and says some outlandish things, it's, you know, some things he's done I think are completely correct and great in terms of a marketing standpoint. Like, LeVar Ball got attention through a conference call and him just saying, yeah, my son's going to be better than Steph Curry and Jason Kidd. And he's been an internet sensation ever since then. He dropped the shoes for $495. And those shoes immediately had more buzz than Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, any of them could have possibly generated. Just because he threw them out there for $495. You go on eBay, you go on Amazon, and, you know, they'll filter, you know, highest to lowest. Most people start lowest to highest or go lowest to highest because they want the better deal. But I always look at the highest price first. And I think a lot of people do, because you're like, I wonder. And I'll see a bunch of stuff. Like, I saw a toaster for $10,000. And I immediately had to look at the toaster and say, well, why is this toaster $10,000? You immediately go look at those shoes and go, why are these shoes $500? I think things like that he's brilliant about. I think I'm gonna say the NBA is better in this, because the NBA will, if you have like legit issues, a lot of times they'll make you go to Europe or somewhere. Like, they won't deal with like the serious issues. Whereas the NFL is like, well, we'll just, you know, kind of make exceptions and push morals off to the side. And just anywhere in life, you know, if you're more skilled, more talented, you will get more second chances. But this isn't a serious issue. Like, as much as people dislike LeVar Ball, as much as people want to sit there and say he's crazy, he's outlandish, and you can say all of those things. But just because your dad's a little outlandish doesn't make you a risk as a prospect. I'm sorry. It doesn't. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, whether you're watching on YouTube, SoundCloud, soon to be iTunes, I'm hoping, cross my fingers, just submitted last night, and I'm hoping to be on iTunes here shortly. Once again, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, word of mouth, all that stuff helps you guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.